Hare Krishna, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Sri Prabhupada. First of all, I would like to offer my humble obeisances to all the sincere Vaishnavas out there. All those who are freed from envy. Those who have got this desire to preach this Krishna consciousness movement just like Sri Prabhupada has ordered. Those who are taking this mission of propagating Krishna consciousness within the core of their heart. Those who are willing to surrender to the instructions of Sri Prabhupada and take guidance from senior devotees and accept that there are many devotees much more advanced than us and that we require guidance. I offer my humble obeisances to all the sincere Vaishnavas out there. Now, this video is a reply to a video made by a certain Igor, a man who claims to be a devotee who is not even initiated himself, yet he tries to instruct others concerning the nature of what a disciple is, what a guru is, and what initiation is. Very recently, this Igor has made a video accusing His Grace Sundar Gopal Prabhu that his initiation is bogus. So Igor, this is the reply to you. First of all, I would like to start by showing which type of pictures and graphic does this Igor uses. Let us take a look. A man wearing a bandana in front of his mouth with dark glasses, a black coat, a shotgun in his hands, on a dark ship filled with oil, bursting and then shooting right at the person who is listening. What does that mean? That means he's trying to shoot us. He has got this grudge against ISKM and Sundar Gopal Prabhu. Just see what kind of mentality this Igor has. Do you think that if a Vaishnava has to show a counter thesis, do you think that it is proper to use this kind of image? Do you think that the 6 Goswamis would be happy to see this kind of image? Do you think that Srila Prabhupada would have been pleased if a devotee would have gone to him and say, Srila Prabhupada, here, I am showing this to you. I have written this article and these are the type of image that I'm doing. Shooting directly at us as if he wants to kill us. Is this Vaishnavism? Now this picture of a skull with 2 swords like this. This just shows that the mind of this Igor is within the mode of ignorance. The mind is the vessel for all our thoughts. And this is the way that he's choosing to present his video. This just gives us a little pursuit into the mind of this Igor. So who is offending and who is defending? There are 2 things in battle. When there's a fight, there's 2 actions mainly. Offense and defense. Sometimes defense will appear to be offense. The argument offered by Sati is that a person who vilifies a great personality is the lowest of all creatures. But by the same argument, Daksha could also defend himself by saying that since he was a Prajapati, the master of many living creatures and one of the great officers of the great universal affairs, his position was so exalted that Sati should accept his good qualities instead of vilifying him. The answer to that argument is that Sati was not vilifying but defending. Similarly, now this video we're doing is not to attack Igor because he has absolutely no fault. No, it is to show his clear deviations. Igor has got a clear envy of His Grace Sundar Gopal Prabhu. So the whole video is made to show that the initiation of His Grace Sundar Gopal Prabhu is bogus. So first of all, we shall look at his arguments, we shall defeat those, and then we shall instruct Igor as well as all those watching what initiation actually means. To give you a hint, henceforward, they are trying to see who is a disciple by seeing a name on a piece of paper, instead of seeing the activities of that disciple. This is exactly the same thing that is happening in this Kali Yoga, just like money. Money before had actual value because it was gold. The substance and reality were one, they were together. When they have separated the value of money into paper, now this paper is actually worthless. So they have separated truth from substance. Now you accept this money simply because everybody accepts it. Actually, it is worthless. Gold is real. Another thing, marriages. Marriages used to be sacred. They used to be a religious ceremony. Now, marriage means what? Legal marriage. You have to sign your name on a paper. If I see your name on a paper, you are married. If I unsign this, you are divorced. What is this? Again, separating truth from substance. Marriage means together forever until you die. But now, no, because they have this artificial way of showing we are married, similarly, the artificial way of saying we are not married is there. Another example, diplomas. Before, a quality of a teacher was shown by his qualities. A Brahmana was recognized by his qualities. Peacefulness, self-control, control of the senses in this way. Now, an educated person, someone who's respected in society, is recognized by his diploma. I have got PhD, I have got this, I have got that. Look, on my wall, I have so many things. Separating truth from substance. The man might be rascal number one. He's a drunkard, woman hunter, but because he's got a PhD, he's recognized in society. This is a symptom of Kali Yuga. Similarly, recognizer and disciple is in the same manner. The activities of the disciple, the qualities of a disciple, how much the disciple has taken to heart the mission of his spiritual master. This is a real disciple, not a name on the paper. The mistake is there in the very beginning. But still, for a matter of argument, we shall look at all your petty weaknesses. First thing, Igor, you have not even contacted Sundar Gopal Prabhu personally to speak with him. Instead, you went to see the rats. You went to see the cockroaches. You went to see the puny men who are envious, who are sitting in one corner of the world, eating and sleeping, not doing absolutely nothing. People who are envious of Sundar Gopal Prabhu, you have listened to them. And therefore, you have embedded their qualities. As the qualities of a nearby object are reflected in a crystal, one similarly takes on the qualities of a person with whom he associates. Therefore, in order to increase one's devotional sentiment in his own eye, a wise person should take shelter of those who have the same temperament. So here we can see clearly that the name Sundar Gopal Das is there, written in the disciple list, the handwritten disciple list. Okay, now they are challenging this. So his first argument in that video is that Sundar Gopal Prabhu could not have been initiated because a newly initiated disciple by letter in those days had to be followed by the temple president for at least 6 months in order to be observed and then recommended to the local GBC who will accept him or her on behalf of Srila Prabhupada. That is correct. And there Igor quotes this letter. Regarding initiation, it is required that you be recommended by one of our temple presidents to me, and then I shall consider it. First of all, one must have followed the regulative principle for at least 6 months without deviation. It is not necessarily required to live in the temple, but you must observe the rules. Yes, this is a fact, but there's also exception to the rules. It happened many times that Srila Prabhupada gave initiation on the spot, especially to Indians. Why? Because many Indians who come from Hindus' family are already pious. They are already not performing these 4 sinful activities. Most of us Westerners, and also of course some Indians, we must go through this regulative period of following the 4 rules and regulations to get freed from what? Our past bad habits. I was also drinking, I was also smoking, but Sundar Gopal Prabhu never went through this. He doesn't know what alcohol is, what smoking is, what illicit sex is, what eating meat is. All these things he does not know. So we come from a degraded civilization and therefore we need the purificative process. Do you know that this initiation, 2 initiation, is something that Prabhupada has brought? There was no question of 2 initiations before. Initiation means upanayam. You bring nearer to the spiritual master by giving the Gayatri mantra. That is initiation 1 only. But Prabhupada made it split into 2, especially for us Westerners. Because us Westerners, we're addicted to meat eating, intoxication, gambling, and illicit sex. That is our so-called culture. There are instances where Srila Prabhupada gave initiation on the spot.
She wants to know that, you can ask her direct. She wants to know that when she can take the care, she is prepared to be abided by the rules.
Oh, then it is very nice. You can take tomorrow.
Tomorrow?
Oh, yeah.
What time?
You come here in the morning, you take prasadam here, and you will be initiated.
Here, Srila Prabhupada is saying that this girl, who is obviously not living in a temple, wants to take initiation. Prabhupada said, yes, tomorrow you come. Why? Prabhupada can see. Here's a pious family. She does not know what these 4 sinful activities is. She's ready, let her take. Similarly, Prabhupada very well knew that I did not go to Singapore. Singapore blocked me. Singapore is the only country that did not allow Srila Prabhupada to come in. Prabhupada somehow or other wanted to make an impact. So surely when Prabhupada heard that there were some disciples ready to be initiated in Singapore, he was very happy to hear this. And he knew that they were from a Hindu background, so he gave it. So this is all up to Prabhupada. You cannot disprove this. You cannot go back in time and say, I was there, Srila Prabhupada never knew about Sundar Gopal Prabhu. You cannot say like this. So the name of Sundar Gopal Prabhu appears in the written list name of Srila Prabhupada's disciples. The name of Sundar Gopal Prabhu appears in the Veda-based list of Srila Prabhupada's disciple. Yet you're trying to disprove that.
Where is your evidence?
Here again, you put some mundane movie into your videos that just shows that you're still watching movie. How come you knew where to find this exact statement of where's your evidence? That means you know exactly which movie is that. I will go and take a look at this. This is your standard. You know that when Srila Prabhupada used to take the plane and the movies were shown on screen, he used to close his eyes? I'm pretty sure you're still watching TV, boy. When this matter came up the first time, it was Jaitarati Das who brought the matter. And he knew Nilakanta, the person who wrote the initiating letter to Srila Prabhupada. So what he did, he called Nilakanta in order to verify this. That means he did not want to have a conversation with Sundar Gopal Prabhu directly. He took it for granted that Sundar Gopal Prabhu is a liar, and that if I talk about this topic with him, he will be lying to me. That was already his conclusion, and so was yours. A gentleman, a real devotee, will first of all contact the person and talk with him, have a discussion. This is Vaishnavism, open discussion. Letter to Nityananda, Bombay 25, November 1972. If they have objection, they must lodge it with their GBC, and differences must be discussed openly amongst ourselves, not secret meetings. We are Vaishnava devotees, not politicians. So these things must be stopped. Plotting. You see, you are plotting. You are on the back of all the devotees of ISKM and you're trying to plot. You're trying to create discordance, trying to show that His Grace Sundar Gopal Prabhu is not bona fide, when actually by his activities he's clearly showing that he's more bona fide than all of you guys. Some unnecessary creepers growing with the Bhakti creeper are the creepers of behavior unacceptable for those trying to attain perfection. Diplomatic behavior. You are faulty of kutinati, diplomatic behavior. And it shows in your video. You don't even show your face. And you use a robot voice in order to read the text.
Were conducted using a representative before the July 9th letter is released.
You don't even want to use your own voice. I know that you speak English. You were translating the classes before. Why aren't you coming up? Why aren't you showing yourself like a man in front of the camera? That is kutinati. That means you know you're wicked. A thief steals at night because he knows he's doing wrong. He's hiding himself. Now, Jaitarati Das contacted Nilakanta Prabhu. Okay. And Nilakanta's reply is this. This was over 40 years ago and I do not at all remember the incident. Okay. Something 40 years ago. Do you remember what happened to you 40 years ago? I'm not even 40 years old. I don't remember things that happened to me when I was 5 years old, 6 years old. How much do you remember of past months? Do you remember every single emails that you wrote, every single conversations that you have with someone, every single letters that you wrote, every single comments that you wrote on Facebook? Can you remember that?
See, that is your nature. You forget so many things. You cannot remember what you are doing exactly at this time yesterday. Can you remember immediately? Forgetfulness is our nature. We are very minute, therefore we are subjected to the quality of forgetfulness.
Now, someone who's getting aged naturally will decrease in memory. If I'm asking you to remember something that happened 40 years ago, can you remember that? Then he says, so I cannot verify, although I possibly remember sending some names to Srila Prabhupada's servants for initiation. So he has done this service. This service of sending name for initiation has been done by him. And he himself says that he cannot verify. So how is it that you can and he cannot? Now you are trying to show that these two letters have been typed with different typewriters. To me, what you're seeing these are exactly the same letters. The only difference is that one you have made sharper and one is less sharp, but it's exactly the same font. And actually, this is a very good argument for us, because to find a type letter that has the exact same font as the previous letter, first of all, one has to think a lot, and it is very, very hard. Okay, what if it was? So what? Were you there actually at that moment? Maybe the typewriter broke. Maybe it was done later on. There are so many things that could have happened. You were not there. You know, life is not a seamless flow of non-mistakes. We are defective. Sometimes mistakes happen. Maybe a typewriter is broken. Maybe the letter was first typed on this typewriter and then finished on that typewriter. Maybe he asked a devotee to finish the letter for him. There are so many things. And simply with this, you're trying to disprove the initiation of a devotee whose name is there in the list of written name as in the Veda base. Plus, those letters look very, very, very similar. You see a difference. Personally, I see none. So now, in order to get more understanding of this matter, you contacted this person named Bhima. And you say that we have demonized him in ISKM. No, this Bhima has demonized himself. You have absolutely no idea of the history. We have compiled documents on this person and to show how much he's lying and how much he's an envious fella. So many devotees know of his character. Again, instead of contacting Sundar Gopal Prabhu, you have contacted an envious person simply to fuel that envy that you have of him. Birds of a feather flock together. Now the fact is that disciples are really rare. Now the fashion is that those who have been initiated by Srila Prabhupada, and when Prabhupada was physically here, they are very proud because this is a higher position according to them. In ISKCON it is the same thing. Those who are Srila Prabhupada's disciples are definitely given more honor than other disciples. Now, even among the devotees who accept the Ritvik system of initiation, that is also there. Jitarati Das wants to keep that pedestal of being Srila Prabhupada's disciple and being superior. You see, and he does not like that Sundar Gopal Prabhu is also Srila Prabhupada's disciples. So he's trying to attack Sundar Gopal Prabhu on this ground instead of seeing the result of his activities. Now, I'm asking you, where is your Sunday feast? Do you go out and distribute books? Are you in charge of a center or temple? Do you even perform prescribed deity worship? Are you fostering so many devotees throughout the world? Are you inspiring people? Are you giving 7 classes a week throughout the entire world with different translators? Are you there day in, day out, 24 hours answering the phone and trying to help individual devotees advance in their spiritual life? Do you know Sastra like His Grace Sundar Gopal Prabhu? Can you answer all the intricate questions found in the books of Srila Prabhupada? Do you wake up at 2:30 in the morning and chant your rounds nicely in the temple room, day in, day out? Do you have the tapasya that His Grace Sundar Gopal Prabhu has? Nobody can see what you're doing. You are in some corner there in Russia and no one can see you. I think you're eating, sleeping and watching TV. That's what I think. Now let us see who is a real disciple. One must accept the bona fide spiritual master and render service unto him with great devotion and faith. Whatever one has in one's possession should be offered to the spiritual master. And in the association of saintly persons and devotees, one should worship the Lord. Hear the glories of the Lord with faith. Glorify the transcendental qualities and activities of the Lord. Always meditate on the Lord's lotus feet and worship the deity of the Lord strictly according to the injunctions of the Shastra and Guru. His Grace Sundar Gopal Prabhu is doing all of these things. He has taken the mission of Srila Prabhupada to heart. He's trying to rectify the mistake that has been done by those bogus gurus. Those who are assuming the posts of so-called Mahabhagavata when they're actually Kanishtadikari. So many people are being cheated. And His Grace Sundar Gopal Prabhu is trying to bring people to Srila Prabhupada. You're trying to see who is a disciple by seeing a name on a piece of paper is a formality. That is not what constitutes being a disciple. Otherwise, every single name that is on that piece of paper is a bona fide disciple of Srila Prabhupada. Yet we have seen how many deviations are taking place. Do you mean to say that Kirtanananda was a real disciple of Srila Prabhupada? After what he has done? He has killed devotees. He was in jail. He was involved in molesting poor children. Is he a disciple? Why not? His name is on the paper. He's a disciple. His name is there. Yasya deve para bhaktir yatha deve tatha gurau tasyati katiha hi arthaha prakashante mahatmanaha. Only unto one who has unflinching devotion to the Lord and to the spiritual master does transcendental knowledge become automatically revealed. So if one understands this knowledge, if one can realize this knowledge and apply it in his life, he understands the jnana and he applies vijnana, that is the sign that he has pleased the spiritual master. That is the sign that he has unflinching devotion unto Krishna and Prabhupada. Now, why would an offender who is faking his initiation, who is an offender at the lotus feet of Srila Prabhupada, be endowed with such a sharp intellect as to present Sastra in their pure form? There is no one on the planet at the moment that can match the class presenting style of Sundar Gopal Prabhu. Whatever question you have, he will refer to Shastra. I am challenging you, find one more person like Sundar Gopal Prabhu on earth who is using Shastra like this to give live classes and always quoting and quoting and quoting and quoting, not putting himself between you and Srila Prabhupada, but actually putting Prabhupada here and asking you to surrender to his lotus feet. Who else is doing this? Such relationship between the disciple and the spiritual master is eternal. One who is now the disciple is the next spiritual master. Similarly, in ISKM, His Grace Sundar Gopal Prabhu is the Shiksha Guru. He is the senior mentor, and we accept this authority. We are not independent-minded like you and a bunch of other people. And one cannot be a bona fide and authorized spiritual master unless one has been strictly obedient to his spiritual master. Brahmaji, as a disciple of the Supreme Lord, received the real knowledge and imparted it to his dear disciple Narada. And similarly, Narada, as spiritual master, handed over this knowledge to Vyas, and so on. Spiritual master and disciple actually means the transfer of transcendental knowledge, and the bona fide disciple is the one that applies this knowledge into his life. What is this knowledge that Prabhupada is telling us? You surrender to Krishna. You surrender your life to Krishna. You follow these 4 regulative principles. You chant your 16 rounds and you preach. That is the real duty of a disciple, to preach. Therefore, the so-called formal spiritual master and disciple are not facsimiles of Brahma and Narada, or Narada and Vyas. The relationship between Brahma and Narada is reality, while the so-called formality is the relation between the cheater and the cheated. You are trying to bring this formality that, look, the name is here. First of all, the name is there. That you cannot disprove that it is wrong. You have your little concoction in your mind and you're contacting some envious people left, right, center, and because of your envy, you are fueling yourself with this hatred towards Sundar Gopal Prabhu, and because in this lifetime you will never be able to elevate yourself to his standard, you are trying to drag him down to your standard. That is the definition of envy. So therefore, you're trying to make this initiation process some name, signature, just like marriage, just like paper money, just like modern day diploma. And this is the so-called formality. It's the relation between the cheater and the cheated. You are a cheater and you're trying to cheat others. It is clearly mentioned here with that Narada is not only well-behaved, meek and obedient, but also self-controlled. His Grace Sundar Gopal Prabhu is all these things. He's eating only once a day. All right? He's self-controlled. He doesn't go eat left and right in restaurants and all these things. No. He controls his sleep. He controls his tongue. He's well-behaved. He's humble. He's a true leader. He's not just bussing around, but he's showing by practical example. What are you doing? Who is following you? Who are you helping in spiritual life? Srila Prabhupada here is giving what a real disciple is. He has to be controlling his senses, and that we are seeing. Of course, you do not see because you are not caring to really know about His Grace Sundar Gopal Prabhu. Your only aim is to try to defame him. That is your motivation.
Yes, that you have to prove. You can, that is your Guru Maharaj, but you have to learn it and face the public and be strong to defend yourself. That is success. Not by praising your Guru Maharaj. You will praise your Guru Maharaj. That is not very difficult. But be victorious to the opposing elements. Then you will praise your Guru Maharaj. At home you can praise your Guru Maharaj and Guru Maharaj be satisfied. Oh, my disciples are praising. That is not very, that is no respectful. That is a qualification. But you have to fight. Then your Guru Maharaj will be glorified.
So show by practical example. Palena parichiyate. We judge something by its result. Hundreds of devotees are joining ISKMs. Now we are growing more and more. We are going internationally. Why? Because we see the genuine desire of His Grace Sundar Gopal Prabhu. Those who have been trained, especially those who have been physically with him, are convinced. And we have been trained properly. We have this determination that no matter what, we'll continue and push this movement forward despite all difficulties. How come we can develop this motivation? How come we can understand this knowledge that is in Srila Prabhupada books? Why is the knowledge being revealed to us? That means that Krishna is pleased. If Krishna is pleased, Srila Prabhupada is pleased. If Srila Prabhupada is pleased, His Grace Sundar Gopal Prabhu is a bona fide disciple. So kindly instruct me how I can give up this weakness. I am accepting you as my Guru. Shishya steham. Shishya means who voluntarily accepts to be ruled by a person who is Guru. He's called Shishya. So where do you see Prabhupada saying disciple means if the name is on the paper of the initiated disciples list? Where? Show me in Prabhupada books where Srila Prabhupada is saying that this is how we have to recognize a disciple. Show me. So as a Shiksha disciple of His Grace Sundar Gopal Prabhu, it is my duty to defend him against offenders like you.
But it is the duty of the disciple. that even the spiritual master or senior acharya, they agree to be defeated, it is the duty of the disciple to see that his spiritual master and superior is not defeated. That is the instruction we get from Jiva Goswami's behavior.
In our parampara system, there is also Shiksha Guru, Shiksha disciple relationship. Jagannath Das Babaji was actually the Shiksha Guru of Srila Bhaktivedanta Thakur. Yet Prabhupada has put it, the picture is there of the Acharya, Jagannath Das Babaji, the Acharya. So he's in the parampara. Why? Because the transfer of transcendental knowledge has been made. That is the true meaning of initiation. The spiritual master can be compared to the lower kindling stick, the disciple to the upper kindling stick, and the instruction given by the guru to the third stick placed in between. The transcendental knowledge communicated from guru to disciple is compared to the fire arising from the contact of these, which burns the darkness of ignorance to ashes, bringing great happiness to both, to guru and disciple. So, this transfer of transcendental knowledge between guru and disciple is what constitutes initiation. That means if the disciple is capable of receiving this knowledge, he is properly connected. And who but Sundar Gopal Prabhu can show the conclusion with Srila Prabhupada's books so accurately? That means the knowledge is clearly awakened in his heart. That means he is properly initiated. He is properly connected. Palena parichiyate. Now note that the link between the guru and disciple is made by the instruction in between. It is not physical contact. It is by the instruction. Therefore, even though His Grace Sundar Gopal Prabhu has never physically met Srila Prabhupada, he is shown at the moment to be his most prominent disciple. Here it says, bringing great happiness both to guru and his disciple. That is another effect of being a bona fide disciple. One becomes happy. That's it. Because if the transcendental knowledge is being communicated, it will be burning my ignorance. That means I will slowly rise to the mode of goodness. And the effect of the mode of goodness is that one becomes happy. Are you happy, Igor? Are you happy? Or your heart is filled with hatred and envy and lust and greed? Are you happy? When you make these videos, do you feel happy to be doing some nice service by showing some shotgun and skull and not even showing your face? If you were actually happy and confident that you're on the right path, why don't you come to the camera and speak like I'm doing? Diksha is the process by which one can awaken his transcendental knowledge and vanquish all reactions caused by sinful activity. A person expert in the study of the revealed scriptures knows this process as Diksha. This is the meaning of initiation. Not that, have you signed here? Is your name on this piece of paper? If not, well, I'm sorry, you are not eligible for Diksha. Where? Show me where. A real disciple is one who will preach, because the spiritual master's true desire is the same as Krishna. Krishna says there's no one more dear to he that preaches. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu also ordered it. You go and preach, become spiritual master. Now, Diksha or Shiksha, and preach, make disciples. And Prabhupada said that without making disciples, there's no meaning to preaching. The one point is that without increasing the number of disciples, there's no propagation of the cult of Krishna consciousness. So without initiating new devotees into the Ritvik system of initiation and bringing them to the lotus feet of Srila Prabhupada, there is no meaning to preaching. You can be saying, yes, I'm doing this, I'm doing that, but are you increasing the disciplic succession? But if one does not strictly follow the guidance of a bona fide spiritual master, his initiation does not bear any meaning. The initiation performance is an agreement by the disciples to abide by the order of the spiritual master. Therefore, if the spiritual master is bona fide and the disciple is serious to abide by his order, then the success is sure. So you see, it has absolutely no meaning, even if the name of Sundar Gopal Prabhu was there on the letter. But if he was not following strictly the instruction of Srila Prabhupada, he would not be a disciple. So why are you trying to separate substance from reality? The neophytes, due to their being in the lower stage of devotional service, are invariably envious. So much so that they invent their own ways and means of devotional regulations without following the acharyas. As such, even if they make a show of constantly chanting the holy name of the Lord, they cannot relish the transcendental taste of the holy name. Neophyte devotees are invariably envious, Srila Prabhupada said. That enviousness has to be checked by rendering service and humbly listening to more advanced devotees. But if one is not put under the guidance of a senior Vaishnav, how will he get freed from this envious mentality? Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati Thakur indicates that rather than trying to separate conditioned souls by materialistic distinctions, one should bring them together to chant the holy names of the Lord and propagate the Sankirtana movement of Lord Chaitanya. a non-devotee, or even an envious third-class devotee is not interested in uniting people on the platform of love of Godhead. Instead, he unnecessarily separates them by emphasizing material distinctions like communists, capitalists, black, white, rich, poor, liberal, conservative, and so on. Material life is always imperfect, full of ignorance and disappointing in the end. Rather than praising and criticizing the high and low features of ignorance, one should be absorbed in Krishna consciousness on the spiritual platform of eternity, bliss, and knowledge. You see, an advanced disciple is actually trying to unite everybody, bring everyone together at the lotus feet of the Acharya, and together let us advance spiritually. But the third class devotee will say, no, here, you see, there's a fault there, there's a fault here, there's a fault there. Now some so-called Ritvik person are always speaking about the Jews. The Jews are bad, the Jews are this, the Jews are... Why are you limiting Maya to a little portion of it? Why Jews only are Maya and nobody else, right? So here it is said, rich, communist, capitalist, you are saying, oh, the communists are bad. So this mentality is there. Actually, a famous Ritvik devotee is on the web. He's always making videos about the bad Jews, the bad communists. Why? Why not the whole thing? Do you think that this mentality of lording it over others only exists in Jewish people or in communist people? Now here's the proof that His Grace Sundar Gopal Prabhu is an advanced devotee. The Madhyama Adhikari Vaishnav can awaken others to Krishna consciousness and engage them in duties whereby they can advance. This Krishna consciousness movement was practically single-handedly started by His Grace Sundar Gopal Prabhu in Singapore. In the beginning, he was alone. There was no one else. Now, how big is the congregation there in Singapore? Why have these people become devotees? How many persons the Sundar Gopal Prabhu has convinced to become devotee? And how many devotees has he convinced to become serious devotees? I personally, like this, I started the preaching mission in China, such a tough country, because I was motivated by His Grace Sundar Gopal Prabhu. Why is it that I will take so much hassle to deal with these rascals here in this country and, go through so much danger? Why did I get this motivation? Listening to Sundar Gopal Prabhu. That is the proof that he's connected. When you touch a socket and you get a shock, that is the proof that there's electricity. Therefore, we shall not be misled by your little trickery and trying to disprove Sundar Gopal Prabhu's authenticity by showing that there's no name or whatever, it was a fake name on this little paper. No, we shall see through Sastra, through the teachings of Srila Prabhupada, who is a bona fide disciple. This is how we're going to be doing. We are not going to be put under the control of your envy. We're not going to associate with you. No, we reject that. We reject your deviant philosophy. To consider such a Vaishnava preacher an ordinary, envious person, or to consider him sectarian because of his proclamation of pure devotional service as the most exalted of all methods of spiritual advancement, reflects a materialistic vision called Vaishnava Jati Buddhi, or Gurushu Naramaktihi. Such an offense drags the offended down to a hellish condition of life by the laws of nature. You have very cleverly compared ISKM to the Titanic. All right, we shall see. Shall we be sinking? Shall we all fall into the abyss of ignorance? Or shall we rise? We shall see in the future. But here is your future. If you are actually an envious person who is finding fault with an exalted preacher, you will be dragged down and you will be brought back to a mundane plane of existence. A Kanishta Adhikari has no idea that the Supreme Lord has the power to exist outside the church or temple. Furthermore, being puffed up by his own ceremonial worship, a Kanishta Adhikari cannot imagine that anyone is more pious or religious than he. And he is not even aware that others' devotees are more advanced. Thus, he cannot understand the Madhyama or Uttama standard of devotional service. And sometimes, because of his false pride, he criticizes the more advanced devotees of the Lord, neglects them, or simply has no understanding of their exalted position as preachers or completely self-realized souls. This is exactly you. You think that you understand Prabhupada better than anybody else. And therefore you make this video trying to educate the whole world and trying to defeat all of the preachers of ISKM who are actually showing by practical example We are distributing prasadam in so many countries. Even the new bhaktas that are joining us and listening to His Grace Sundar Gopal Prabhu and Talvavel Prabhu are becoming enthused to go out there and distribute books and distribute prasadam and give classes and try to awaken people to this Krishna consciousness movement. Even young Matajis that join us, they become bold preachers. That is the effect of coming in touch with a bona fide Shiksha Guru or Diksha Guru. We are performing festivals throughout the entire world. All the festivals, Janmashtami, Gora Purnima, it doesn't matter. We are doing it with great pomp, with great celebration, with enthusiasm and happiness. Are you doing these things? We are building temples. We are following strictly the whole process from morning Mangalarti all the way to the evening Bhagavad Gita class. Are you doing this? Yet, you think that you know better than the entire congregation of ISKM who's trying to push forward the bona fide Ritvik system of initiation. You, who is Igor, who is not even initiated, your problem is that you are not taking the proper association. You are independent and you think that you can advance spiritually without the help of advanced devotees. One should always think of oneself as the servant of the Acharyas, and thinking this, one should live in the society of Vaishnavas. Are you doing this? At the moment, you think that you're the teacher of the Vaishnavas and you are living in a secluded place, completely against the instructions of Srila Prabhupada. Is that a disciple? However, if one thinks that he has become very mature and can live separate from the association of Vaishnavas and thus gives up all the regulative principles due to offending a Vaishnava, one's position becomes very dangerous. So now you are starting to offend the Vaishnavas and you are living on your own. That means what? You will break the regulative principles. That is what I'm seeing for you. One who is conducted by false ego and thus always distressed, both mentally and sensually, cannot tolerate the opulence of self-realized persons. Being unable to rise to the standard of self-realization, he envies such persons as much as demons envy the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Anger refers to the propensity which arises whenever there is an impediment in the way of one's sense gratification. The devotees are always busy gratifying Krishna's senses. Those who put obstacles on the path of a devotee's service to the Lord are certainly envious of the devotees. With all these videos, you are putting obstacles in the preaching mission of ISKM. This is a clear proof that you are envious. To display anger towards such envious people is one of the limbs of the worship of the Supreme Lord. The mentalities of those who consider such a display of service propensity to be equal to ordinary anger are certainly hellish. If those of you who think that our presenting this video in an angry mood is some mundane anger, that is a hellish mentality, because it is one of the limbs of this service, devotional service, defending the Vaishnavas. The devotee has the strength to tolerate disturbances to his enjoyment of sense gratification. Therefore, he remains tolerant when his material enjoyment is impeded or is not satisfactory. But to become angry at a person who causes impediments in the service of Lord Krishna is a part of worship of the Supreme Lord. Purport. We have the practical experience of seeing that one person is able to do very wonderful things, whereas another cannot do those same things and cannot even do things that require only a little common sense. Therefore, how much a devotee has been favored by the Supreme Personality of Godhead can be tested by the activities the devotee has performed. Similarly, we can see the standard of His Grace Sundar Gopal Prabhu, his devotional activities, by the result of his activities. So many devotees are there to try to help him push this movement. He's making so many preachers. This is his achievement. What have you done? Show me. Just show me a picture of a Sunday feast. Thus, when a person exhibits wonderful devotional activities, a thoughtful man understands that Krishna has been more favorable to this devotee. That is simple. Yes, this devotee is more advanced than me. Is it very hard? This is not difficult to understand. But envious persons do not accept that Krishna has bestowed his favor upon a particular devotee in accordance with his advanced position. Such foolish persons become envious and try to minimize an advanced devotee's activities. That is not Vaishnavism. A Vaishnava should appreciate the service rendered to the Lord by other Vaishnavas. This is your position. That is not Vaishnavism what you're doing. You are not acting like a Vaishnava. You should be appreciating the efforts that all the devotees of ISKM are trying to do. Instead, you put them all in one group and you say they will sink to the bottom of the ocean like the Titanic. They will hit an iceberg and all drown. This is the display of your envy. That means you have associated with non-devotees. So-called devotees whose only business is to find fault. We know that there's one woman who goes around on the internet always trying to blaspheme ISKM and Sundar Gopal Prabhu. This so-called Sita. She goes and she writes so many comments, nasty things, and you have been polluted by her. You have been polluted by this other so-called David, who is there in Germany. You have been polluted by this other Jitarati who has gone to so much length as to try to disprove that Sundar Gopal Prabhu's initiation is bogus. And because you have taken their association, you have fallen into the same condition as them. Service to Vaishnava gradually accumulates and becomes an asset for a devotee. Similarly, harmful activities directed against the devotee gradually become the ultimate cause of the performer's fall down. So you claim that we are on the Titanic. What is this? You are seeing the entire world according to the position of your mind. What is this? Atmavan manyate jagat. Because you are envious and your future in falling will bring you down in your devotional life. You think that this is happening to everybody else. You think that all of us in ISKM are envious and we're gliding down like the Titanic, when actually this is your very own future. Now you might say that, no, I have my deities at home, I'm doing worship, I'm also a devotee. 7:14:40. Sometimes a neophyte devotee offers all the paraphernalia for worshipping the Lord, and he factually worships the Lord as the deity. But because he is envious of the authorized devotees of Lord Vishnu, the Lord is never satisfied with his devotional service. The Lord is not satisfied with what you're doing now. One who is attached to dry speculative knowledge has no relationship with Krishna. That is your situation. You are speculating that a disciple is a name on a piece of paper and you're trying to prove this. Contacted someone who 40 years ago wrote that letter. You are putting two letters together saying this and that. Although the name of Sundar Gopal Prabhu is there in the database and in the list, still you do not accept. This is your mentality. His occupation is criticizing Vaishnavas. Thus, he is situated in criticism. That is all you're breathing now. Envy and criticism. I'm sure you're there sitting in your house, breathing fire, going on the net, trying to find all the little faults that all the rat-like people like you have put, all the stool-like things that they've dropped on the web, and you're gathering this together and you're preparing for your next video. Even where there are hundreds of good qualities, a critic does not consider them. Rather, he attempts by some trick to point out a fault in those attributes. Sundar Gopal Prabhu and ISKM have got hundreds of nice things happening. There's so much potency happening. There's so much preaching activities. Actually, recently there's so much that I have a problem to follow what is going on throughout the world because so many devotees are enthusiastic. They are preaching, they're making new devotees, they're distributing books like anything, prasadam like anything. A new Bhaktin who is not even initiated yet, she's distributing hundreds, 800 plates of prasadam at the time and Prabhupada books alongside. What are you doing? There's so much nice thing to see and praise in ISKM, but no, look, the two letters here do not fit with one another. And I have contacted someone who says that 40 years ago he does not remember. So by some tricks, you're trying to find a little fault in His Grace Sundar Gopal Prabhu. So therefore this video is properly correct. And those who try to criticize this video do not understand the Sastra, do not understand the mood of a Vaishnav. One should be very meek and humble in his personal transactions. And if insulted, the Vaishnava should be tolerant and not angry. But if there is blasphemy against one's guru or another Vaishnav, one should be as angry as fire. This was exhibited by Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. One should not tolerate blasphemy against a Vaishnava, but should immediately take one of the three actions. If someone blasphemes a Vaishnava, one should stop him with arguments and higher reason. If one is not expert enough to do so, he should give up his life on the spot. And if he cannot do so, he must go away. This ISKM is bona fide and we can clearly feel it. Why? Because there are three things that happen when we advance spiritually. There's a distaste happening for material enjoyment. In other words, renunciation of the materialistic concept of life. There is more and more realization about Lord Sri Krishna. And there is taste in devotional service. There's an enthusiasm. And this we see with every single serious devotees in ISKM. It is happening. We are bona fide. And to try to stop such a bona fide movement is a very great offense. To blaspheme the great saintly persons who are engaged in preaching the glories of the Hare Krishna Mahamantra is the worst offense at the lotus feet of the holy name. One should not criticize a preacher of the glories of the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. If one does so, he is an offender. The Nama Prabhu, who is identical with Krishna, will never tolerate such blasphemous activities, even from one who passes as a great devotee. So we do not fall under the trick of all of you people out there, this Sita, this David, yourself, and whoever else is acting as a bird of the same feather, who are always criticizing His Grace Sundar Gopal Prabhu and ISKM. We don't care for you. You are envious. We will go on. You can keep barking, but we don't care for all of you. We made this video simply so that others do not be misled. Bhaktivedanta Thakur clearly said it, that there's a type of Vaishnav who has got tilak, he's got kuntimala, but who is? He is a Kali Chela. Vaishnavas are not envious. If a Vaishnava, by the mercy of the Lord, is empowered by him to distribute the Lord's holy name all over the world, other Vaishnavas become very joyful. That is, if they are truly Vaishnavas. One who is envious of the success of a Vaishnava is certainly not a Vaishnava himself, but an ordinary mundane man. Envy and jealousy are manifested by mundane people, not by Vaishnavas. Why should a Vaishnava be envious of another Vaishnava who is successful in spreading the holy name of the Lord? An actual Vaishnava is very pleased to accept another Vaishnava who is bestowing the Lord's mercy. A mundane person in the dress of a Vaishnava should not be respected, but rejected. This is enjoined in the Shastra, upeksha. The word upeksha means neglect. One should neglect an envious person. A preacher's duty is to love the Supreme Personality of Godhead, make friendships with Vaishnavas, show mercy to the innocent, and reject or neglect those who are envious and jealous. There are many jealous people in the dress of Vaishnavas in this Krishna consciousness movement, and they should be completely neglected. There is no need to serve a jealous person who is in the dress of a Vaishnava. So all of you out there who are dressing like devotees, but still finding faults with His Grace Sundar Gopal Prabhu, we reject you. We know who you are. You are not Vaishnava. You are mundane men. A jealous person in the dress of a Vaishnava is not at all happy to see the success of other Vaishnava in receiving the Lord's mercy. Unfortunately, in this age of Kali, there are many mundane persons in the dress of Vaishnavas, and Srila Bhaktivedanta Thakur has described them as disciples of Kali. He says Kali Chela. He indicates that there's another Vaishnav, a pseudo-Vaishnav with tilak on his nose and kanti beads around his neck. Such a pseudo-Vaishnava associates with money and women and is jealous of successful Vaishnavas. Although passing for a Vaishnava, his only business is earning money in the dress of a Vaishnava. Bhaktivedanta Thakur therefore says that such a pseudo-Vaishnava is not a Vaishnava at all, but a disciple of Kali. Not only you, but all your supporters, all those who think that you're actually doing good, all of them are Vaishnava paradis, and they will suffer the result. If one does not immediately leave upon hearing the Lord or the Lord devotees blaspheme, he falls down from devotional service. You see the danger. I'm seeing in your little mundane video that there are some comments who are supporting you. So these people also will fall from the standard of devotional service. In fact, they're already fallen. So the conclusion is that His Grace Sundar Gopal Prabhu is a bona fide disciple by action, by result. This is how we have to see. Not try to see the word on the list. And I don't even care for that. All of us devotees of an ISKM have never even thought of looking into this matter. We have heard all this criticism and we don't even care for it. We have not called someone and asked him, did you write the letter? We have not opened Photoshop and tried to compare and see, oh, is it the same type of letter? We have not asked some envious person who is sleeping and eating and who is a Vaishnava Paradis, what does he think about the bona fide Vaishnava who's preaching? You are doing everything, every single step you're taking is absolutely wrong. And we are not doing these things. That shows that we are not of the same species. We are wanting to associate with swans, whereas you are a crow and your business is to pick in garbage. And we can see that clearly from the graphics that you're using in your videos. Your merit stands far above theirs. You have done some tangible work to please me by spreading this Krishna consciousness message in New Orleans. That is the test. Let them do something first. Then we shall see what is their criticism. Simply criticizing and no work, that is the business of inferior men. So do not be disturbed by them. Go on with your work, increasing more and more. Never mind the jackal's howl. So we do not care for your jackal howling, inferior men. We want to associate with bona fide Vaishnavas. We have accepted Sundar Gopal Prabhu as our Shiksha Guru, and we are progressing forward with strong determination. You will see ISKM logo come on more and more pages throughout the entire web. You will see more temples erect, more devotees joining. Hare Krishna, Jai Shri Prabhupada.
Namaste.